Welcome to the Moment Masters Show, where we give you tips and tricks to help you master crucial moments with your customers and clients. In every episode, we help you strategize for long-term small business success. And now, please welcome your host, Shakira Brown. Yes. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Moment Masters Show, where we help you master the very moment in which you have the opportunity to sell your goods and services to your target audience. This podcast is all about arming you with the tools you need to achieve the growth and success you want. I am Shakira Brown. You can learn more about me at momentmasters.com, or you can visit my business website at shakirabrown.com. And if you are not following me on Twitter, why aren't you? It's so easy to do so. Just go to Twitter, enter @SmallBizWhisperer, that's @SmallBizWhisperer, where I post a myriad of tips and tricks of my own insightful musings, as well as some from small business marketing and sales gurus. So definitely check that out. And of course, you can see my social media links at momentmasters.com in the show notes for this episode or any episode. I'm so grateful for our program partner, Cowork Connection Plus, which offers 19,000 square feet of shared office space. If you're anything like me, you don't want the overhead of a long-term lease. You don't have to worry about that. You can get a day office for a week. You can do something for a month. It is all without a long-term commitment. You can also secure a workshop space for yourself through their conference room or their training area. It really is a great opportunity. And if you need a professional address in the United States on the East Coast, Cowork Connection Plus is in central New Jersey near Princeton, in proximity to Philly, in proximity to New York City. It's a great address to have for your business if you need one in the United States or in the East Coast. So head over to their website. Go to coworkconnectionplus.com. Again, coworkconnectionplus.com. You can also access that same site by clicking on their logo at momentmasters.com. You'll be so glad you did. Amazing voices you've been listening to were those of Notes and Keys, Columbia University's oldest and finest co-ed cappella group. And I encountered these lovely singing beings at the Future of Storytelling Festival, which took place in October 2017. And this event was all about experiences. So I happened to be walking around the festival, and I would come across different performers, and these were Notes and Keys were some of the performers I came across. And I wanted to make sure I shared that because I wanted you to hear what I was hearing and what I was experiencing at this event, which was an awesome event. And at the focal point of the Future of Storytelling Festival was that experience is what we all are going to have to focus on as it relates to creating brand awareness and convincing people to patronize your business. This is all the Future of Storytelling, which again is the name of this festival. And the Future of Storytelling was founded by Charles Melcher in 2012. And the event itself gathers a passionate community of people from the worlds of media, technology, and communications who are exploring how storytelling is changing in the digital age. And the theme across the board, as I experienced this event myself for over the course of 3 days, was that virtual reality, VR, if you've seen VR, that's what virtual reality is, mixed reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence are at the forefront of storytelling in the future. And the event was extremely immersive. I learned during the event that a lot of people involved with the VR technology and all the other stuff that I mentioned earlier don't like the word immersive because it's probably overused at this point. But that's what it was. I mean, it was an experience all around. There were approximately 100 exhibits throughout the festival. It took place across the entire Snug Harbor Cultural Center main area there, and right amidst botanical gardens. It was beautiful. It was lovely. It was wonderful October, Indian summer weather. It was actually really hot. Trying on these VR headsets, putting them on, wearing them. I mean, there was at one point I was like dripping wet, like sweat was like just rolling down from underneath the VR headsets. But it did not take away from the experience. I enjoyed the experiences very much. And I enjoyed speaking with some of the creators of the content that is going to be populating a lot of these VR headsets in the future. And this episode consists of interviews that I've conducted at some of the booths and after some of the experiences. And a couple of times I spoke to people before I was able to experience their product or their VR content. But it was an amazing time, and I want to thank the Future of Storytelling for having me there and allowing me to cover the event for the Moment Masters show. So you will hear from some really leading edge business leaders, creators, storytellers that were at this event. You'll hear some of my reactions after I participated in their activities, and I will be totally honest with you, I really hadn't explored VR technology outside of Walt Disney World. Or artificial intelligence outside of Siri. Seriously, I mean, I really hadn't. But now that I have an understanding of the power of storytelling, using some of this technology and being able to put people in a place where they can feel like they're somewhere else, but they're really just, in a room in, Staten Island, New York, is amazing. And I will say that one of the experiences had me so involved, and it was so compelling, and it was called, I will give it a shout out, After Solitary, and it was in an area of the festival that some people had submitted themselves to be awarded a prize, to be eligible to win a prize, and it was in that area. And I looked in the festival book, and I saw this, and I said, I'm going to look for this, and I found it, and I put on the VR headset, and it was about a gentleman who had been in solitary confinement most of the time that he had been incarcerated for a period of about 8 or 10 years. And it was something that I hadn't experienced before, where I felt like I was in the room with this gentleman as he was speaking. It starts off with me being in his bedroom that he lives in now that he's out of jail. And it was small, but a huge king-size bed, but the room was too small for the bed. But he was, and you could see all of his products on his dresser, and it really felt like I can touch these things. And I was there, and you can hear him speaking, and he was there in the room with me. And then the next scene was me in solitary confinement in a cell. And this is, again, all virtual experience. I was in a cell with this gentleman, and he's sitting on his bed, and I could have a 360-degree view, and and look up, down, around, and see all the walls and the door, and some of the things. And I was so tired. I was walking around this event I think this was the third day I was there, and walking around this event, and it was hot and I was sweaty, and I'm in this experience alone. There's no other participant. It's just me with the VR headset and the gentleman who was in the content, the experience, and he's speaking. His story was so compelling that in a moment of fatigue, I thought about leaning against the cell wall, which actually was not physically present. I'm going to say that again. Hearing this man and standing in front of him, which is what I was doing in the experience, in the cell, I'm in there with him. I felt like I was there with him, and he was speaking directly to me. And I was so immersed in the experience that I thought to lean against the wall that actually was not present in my physical room. And that's how compelling the story was and how real it felt to be in the VR experience called After Solitary. So I have some great interviews with some of the creators that were present at the Future of Storytelling Festival, including some sound from an interview conducted by famous film critic Elvis Mitchell of Academy Award-winning producer, writer, director, editor Steven Soderbergh. This was probably one of the coolest things I did while I was at the FoST Festival. And I was able to, as a member of the press for this podcast, sit in front row at this presentation with Steven Soderbergh, who was working very awkwardly an iPad because he's not very tech savvy, which I found extremely interesting. As he is walking the audience through his brand new HBO project called Mosaic, which is going to be a total user experience program, which is going to be available on iTunes, I believe. And you're going to be able to choose the outcomes of how the show progresses. It's starring Sharon Stone and a bunch of other great actors. And what was really interesting is hearing Steven Soderbergh speaking about doing what he's been doing for years. I mean, he's produced many movies and directed and written movies. You know, obviously he started with Sex, Lies, and Videotape. One of my favorites that he's done is Ocean's 11, really one of my favorite movies. Really, really good at storytelling, that movie. And he's telling a story through Mosaic, the brand new HBO program, but we, the viewer, will be able to determine the outcomes based on different situations throughout the program. It was cool seeing the creator of this actually go through it with us. Someone as famous as Steven Soderbergh sitting in front of us with his iPad showing us how we would be using his latest creation. You'll hear that and so much more right after this brief message. Let me ask you, would you like to make your product or service irresistible to buyers? Would you like to attract more prospects and customers easier and more effectively than ever before? Would you like to never again have to explain what you do or what you offer over and over again to the same people? Would you like to learn the one thing that will boost your business into action? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, then what you want is a brand strategy. If you would like to have a branding experience that is actually rewarding, enlightening, and nearly effortless, then check out my 3-month, one-on-one, private intensive brand coaching program designed for business leaders like you who are ambitious, busy, work hard, and are ready to invest in your future success. For more information, click the link in the show notes of this episode. You can also email me at podcast@momentmasters.com for details. Remember, only you can decide to make your business grow into one that allows you to spend more time doing absolutely what you love, or you can simply treat it as a hobby. It's your choice. Now, I want to prepare you to listen to these interviews in such a way that you're not going to feel like you're compelled to go run out and figure out how to do a virtual reality experience for your business. Don't go there. But what I want you to listen for is ways that you can improve how you currently tell your story in the way that you normally would do it, whether it's verbally, whether it's just a page on your website or a video. Be thinking about how you can further your brand through storytelling using what's available to you today. And if you do that now, you will be prepared to do this other stuff later. And I want to also bring up an interesting anecdote from my experience at the Future of Storytelling Festival. I was walking around and there was sort of a tent available where you could go and hear other talks. There was some storytelling type circles going on. And there's a company there set up, WeWork, that is it's a co-working space. And they were there and they had these booths set up with a mic inside, and you can tell your story because they're giving away some money. It's through they have a creative awards, and if you were able to submit, if you go to their website, you'll see all this information. If the contest is still available, they're giving away some cash to entrepreneurs. And I thought that was cool. And I thought that the fact that they had booths set up with microphones to record video and whatnot, and video. They had ways for you to do the video and all that good stuff. And I stopped by the booth and I said to the people that were there, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm here for a Moment Master Show. It's my podcast. Would you be interested in doing an interview with me? And they said, yes, but we need to talk to so-and-so. And I said, okay, well, it's not going to be anything groundbreaking. You're here. I just want to find out more, just to be able to tell me, what is it, this awards program that you have, what is it? And so that my listeners can, might be able to participate in some way. And then they kept pushing back on me and saying they had to wait for someone else to come back so they can talk to me about what they were there to talk about. So I'm telling you this because what I said to them was, you know what? Red tape is bad for storytelling. They were at the Future of Storytelling Conference, festival, I should say, and they were there to promote this program for entrepreneurs that they're going to be giving away some money. I'm giving them a way to further explain that information through my podcast, and there was red tape. So, moral of that story is, if you're going to have anybody at your booth at any event, the people at your booth should be empowered to speak on behalf of your company. And if you don't trust them to speak on behalf of your company, they should not be at your booth representing your firm. So, without further ado, here are my interviews from all the willing participants who wanted to tell their story on the Moment Master Show. Right now, here we go. So I am at the Future of Storytelling Festival in Staten Island, New York, and I'm here with Nishant, who is a student. He's running some of these fabulous VR presentations and experiences. That's really what I should call it. I just finished doing one, and it was amazing. I'd never done one before, but I wanted to make sure I talked to Nishant because he is the future of this technology. Tell everybody on the show, my audience is small business owners, what you're studying, where you're going to school, and why did you choose to study what you're studying?
Absolutely. So my name is Nishant, and I am a master's student at Georgia Tech studying human-computer interaction. So human-computer interaction is more about how do you build technology that are easy and fun to use for everyone. And since, as you can see at this festival, that the future of storytelling is all about virtual reality and augmented reality, and there are no limits anymore because you can build a world of your own. So as a student, I have been working on VR projects, and I feel VR right now, especially VR versus AR, has the potential to give a platform for everyone to build whatever they want, because it's like I'm sitting at home, but I can be in Dubai or I can be in Australia at the same time.
Exactly.
And experience what I want to versus what my life is giving me.
Exactly.
And at the same time, it has been expanding in all domains. Right now, they're expanding into banking, they are expanding to gaming, and just storytelling is one example for which we have an entire conference, and
right.
I'm sure that can extend to anybody.
That's amazing. So one of the things I did one, what was the one that I did? It was the Steam.
Oh, so
what was this one called?
So the application name was Sonaria.
Sonaria.
Yeah.
So Sonaria, I said it was very relaxing. When I was doing it, you said I was saying how relaxing it was, and I, as a small business advisor, I said, wait a minute, this could be great in the waiting room, a relaxation room at a spa. Do you think that in the future there will be more businesses, not just big brands, but small businesses that would take advantage of this type of stuff?
Absolutely. I think so. VR applications are built more towards a specific purpose, like empathy building versus game versus what you may experience was more for relaxing. And the applications for each one of it is very different. So these can be applied to people who are really stressed out.
Yeah.
And
at any time, anywhere.
Anytime, anywhere. Exactly. You just need to plug it to your computer and you are also good to go. And you do not, I would say, you do not need to even go to a spa. Maybe you are experiencing spa sitting on a chair, roaming around. Thank you. And roaming around. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, my idea is that yes, you could do it at home, but you could use it as spa owners could use it as a value add for people who are super stressed out and they need to kind of decompress before they go in for their massage, they can do this. So that's great. So I want to thank you so much for sharing some of your information from a student perspective. One other thing, what do you see yourself doing after you? When do you graduate?
I graduate next May.
Where would you want to work?
I want to work in a company that thinks beyond a digital screen that we have, because even if we have mobile screens and laptops that are like 2D screens, but the future is going to be more than that. That's why even iPhones and Samsungs are now making more VR experiences and like augmented reality experiences. Even iPhone X recently was marketing it a lot because that's the future. So though we have these 2D screens, now the next step is how do you expand it to 3D and add more modalities to it. So I would really like to work for a company that though they have these standard applications or softwares, but they are thinking about future, that how can we add more modalities and make the experience better.
Hey, you're pretty smart. I guarantee you won't be at a company very long. You'll be somewhere with your own business, coming up with your own stuff. Don't you think that's gonna? I see it. I think I see it with you. I'm looking at your real reality. I see you as somebody who could take what you know and come up with a company and innovate around what you just said, thinking beyond the screen. I think that's a good theme for this entire festival.
Absolutely. I would second that.
Thank you so much, Nishant.
Thank you so much.
This is an amazing opportunity I have. I'm here with Alexander Mejia, and he is the founder and CEO of Human Interact. And Human Interact has this amazing display here at the Future Storytelling Festival called Starship Commander. And I said, I have to talk to you, Alexander. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And I want to make sure we talk a little bit about how you got to the place of doing this virtual reality experience.
Well, that's a loaded story, kind of a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. I am a storyteller, right?
Good.
So about 2 years ago, we saw virtual reality taking off, and we knew that it was going to be a new medium. You know, books are a medium, movies are a medium, video games are a medium to tell stories in. And I actually came from the video game and the TV film industry. And I saw a huge opportunity in telling stories in virtual reality.
Okay.
And going forward from there, I knew that if I didn't jump onto there, that what if would have eaten me alive. I would have just said, what if I didn't do this, or what if I did that? And so I quit my job. I started going all in on this virtual reality stuff, and eventually we found out that input is actually a big problem in virtual reality.
Yeah.
There's the Xbox controller. It's got all these buttons on it. I mean, I can use it behind my back, but I hand it to my mom, and she's like,
"You're an expert." I mean, you know.
Yeah. Well, I was using it for almost 6 hours a day at my video game job.
Right.
Yeah, because I was doing so much game capture. So we figured out that there needs to be a different way to do input. And turns out everybody forgot that all these headsets have microphones on them. And so we started saying, well, what if we put a person in front of you, and they talk to you, would you try to talk back? And the answer was a resounding yes, and that's how we got started down this path of creating Starship Commander.
So, from what I haven't done it yet, but by the time this airs, I will have done Starship Commander. And he hooked me when he said that if I talk, that they're going to give me the game is going to give me, it's a game, right?
Yeah.
It's going to give me some sort of response back that makes sense, right? It's going to recognize something that I'm saying, give me a logical response.
Yeah. So what we're doing is actually really complicated behind the scenes stuff. I'll try to make this as easy as I possibly
Just
can.
dumb it down.
It's hard to dumb down understanding natural language, because there's the words that you're saying, but then there's also the meaning, or what we call the intent of what you're saying. And there are multiple ways to say the same thing. And so computers are really strict. They want structured data, meaning that it needs to come in the same way every time. And that's not how human beings operate. Human beings have feelings and emotions and will say things in different ways. And so what artificial intelligence does is it bridges the gap between, I need that really structured data, to, oh, here's this free form communication, which is English language. And once we have that understanding in there, we can put you in the middle of our experience, Starship Commander, where you're the main character in a tentpole Hollywood movie, and the characters come up to you and say, "Okay, Commander, what are we doing?"
Really cool.
Yeah.
Love that. So tell me a little bit more about Human Interact and what the future of the company is. I mean, it can't be all hinged on this Starship Commander, or maybe it is.
So, never ask the cook how he makes the soup, but I'll try.
Right.
I'll give you. I'll tiptoe around it for you. Okay. So in Starship, right now we're building Starship Commander. We're planning on having this out as soon as we possibly can. We have not announced a release date yet, but that will be coming soon. We're obviously on PC platforms, so Oculus Rift, HTC Vive. But we're also expanding as a business because people are blown away when they see the technology. People are now saying, "I didn't know this was possible." And the reality was, 6 months ago, this was not possible. The technology for the AI and the language understanding learning just came online through Microsoft just 6 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were on the cutting edge. We were there right away from the beginning saying, "Can we please use this technology?" Because we were trying to build it ourselves, and it was really difficult to build that. And we saw that Microsoft was productizing that, but there's also a little bit behind the scenes too that it's not just like you can't just grab any old, natural language processing API out there and just use it. There's a little finesse. We've had behavioral psychologists help us on building this product. We have had people training the language models for over a year.
Wow.
Yeah, and so you can teach a child how to speak. That's easy.
Yeah.
We teach the child how to have manners.
All right.
Yes.
Wow.
And so,
Love that.
yeah, and so having all those things said and done allows us to build an experience like Starship Commander, where you speak your mind to the characters, they understand you, and if you try to get too far off from the story, they pull you back and they say, no. We're gonna do this attack mission. Come on, come with me. Have this story. And you know what? It's like a Disney ride. People want to go for it. They want to do it, right? They like nobody gets on Splash Mountain and says, "Yeah, I don't want to go down the mountain."
Exactly. Well, it's a kid's mind, but whatever. They don't know yet. They don't know how fun it is. And speaking of, before we started the interview, we were having a little conversation about how Star Wars Land, or whatever they're calling it, at Disney is happening. And I think that what you have, and I'm just putting it out into the universe for you, because I love startups and I love people who are innovative. This would be pretty good darn technology.
You know what?
To add to something like that.
So we are expanding the company. We're doing more business-to-business stuff. If a brand like Star Wars approached me, if Disney wants to do something with Human Interact, we would consider it. I mean, right? There's a lot of.
Well, obviously.
There's a lot of opportunity. There's only so much for us to do. I mean, we're a company that's growing. You don't want to grow too fast. You lose the company culture. You want to make sure that your business is sustainable, that you're not just doing everything all willy-nilly. Otherwise, that's how good companies go broke really fast.
This is true. This is true. Well, I'm so excited to have met you. I'm even more excited to hop in the seat and try this technology out for myself. And is there anything else you want to share? Any social sites? Any other experiences that you want people to sign up for? Anything?
Sure. So if you want to find out more about our product, you can search in Google for Human Interact, or you can go to human-interact.com. Our game is called Starship Commander. We haven't announced a release date yet, but stay tuned. There's a cool trailer up there right now. You can sign up on our email list if you want to find out more updates, and we'll let you know. We also, because
the email list is at the website.
Yes,
so
at
they
the
go
website.
there, they can sign up and get
Yeah.
more information. Okay, great.
And we also do video game streaming every Friday. We like to cut back with our fans and play VR games, play adventure games, because that's where we came from. We loved adventure games so much as a kid, and it's just like we feel like we're making like the next technological leap for that, because there's always tons of dialogue in those games, and now you get to drive the dialogue. You get to interject yourself into the story, so you can be funny, you can be happy, you can be sad, you can be tough, or you can be timid, and all these things work. And it's great because you've interjected yourself in the story. You just like it that much better. better.
Yeah, one last thing, because you just brought something up. So I got immersed in, 3 or 4 years ago. I can't think of the name of the company, but you probably know the name of the company that did the Walking Dead interactive game that you can play on your iPad or, I don't know.
Telltale Games, they did The Walking Dead, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that because I was able to control outcomes.
Yep.
So this is way further than that.
Yeah. You said it, not me.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Moment Master Show. And did you want people to follow you? Because you mentioned all the stuff for the business.
Yeah. I'm talking about the business. I guess if you want to follow me, I'm at Alexander_Mejia on Twitter.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I am at the booth for Hook Audio, which, when you first, there's this huge, what's that, like a ceramic or something ear. It's like, what is this? These guys have captured me because they showed me a new way. They've taken something that we're all used to, a headset with a microphone, done something totally different with it. He's probably going to disagree that it's similar to that, but I'll let him do it. His name is Anthony Matana. He's the founder and CEO of Hook Audio. And first of all, how did you get started doing this stuff? What's your background?
Yeah, my background is in live theatrical sound design for Broadway theater. So I've been a sound designer on Broadway for the last 6-7 years. Mm-hmm. And when working in Broadway, we use these crazy types of microphones that have been around for decades called binaural microphones. Mm-hmm. And the current binaural microphones in the market are very expensive, very cumbersome, have a lot of gears and adapters and cables, and really only reserved for a professional market. But the amazing thing about binaural audio is that when you listen back to it, you can listen back on any pair of headphones, no special algorithms or speakers required,
right, and
hear audio captured identically to the way it was actually heard in that moment.
Tell me a little bit about the design of your product, the Hook Audio product, and why you've done it this way.
Right. So in order to conduct a binaural recording, you need to very precisely position a microphone in each ear, mm-hmm, and you utilize the way the ear naturally reflects sound to be able to capture it identically to the way you hear it. So for me, I feel like this format of audio is absolutely unbelievable, and I want to bring it to consumers so that they can be creative with sound on their smartphones as well. See, for me, I was always working in theater, and I had directors that could talk really intelligibly about saturation and color focus and temperature, but when it came to sound, they couldn't understand it. And for me, I felt it was because they had no ability to be creative with sound on their consumer devices. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make a creative sound tool on phones so that when I had to go in another tech room with the director, they could understand what they were talking about. And I cared so much about it that I literally, with a theater background, started a consumer electronics company. So I took the binaural recording technology and I embedded it into a product that people already own. I kind of knew that people wouldn't want to add another piece of gear to their lives, but they might want to upgrade.
Right.
So the Hook Verse, which is our first product by Hook Audio, is a pair of Bluetooth headphones with these built-in binaural microphones. So the user experience is supposed to be seamless and easy to use and portable and affordable. You pair them with your phone, they act like regular headphones, so you can listen to music, do whatever normal headphones do. Mm-hmm. But when you go to capture a video or an audio recording, instead of using the built-in mic on the phone, it's going to grab it and override it from the microphones in each of your ears. The result is a video or an audio file that, when listened back on any pair of headphones, sounds exactly like it did when the recordist was there listening.
And I can attest that I have used his product, the Hook Audio. What was the name of this?
The Hook Verse. It's our first verse, as we say.
And it was quite amazing. It all worked, but like everything else, it works with an app. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty seamless, and it's actually really exciting because the audio is so much more immersive when you're watching a video with the Hook Audio. So my audience is full of small business owners. They're looking for the latest and greatest thing. You are a small business. You just said that you started a business, and really you had a business before or no? No business before, but you're doing this. What's some of the learning curves for you because you brought this product to market? What are some of the learning curves for you as there's a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. He talks about the practitioner, someone who knows everything about the one subject, but maybe not so good with the business side. So So what's been some of your learning curves?
Sure. A big thing for us was the only way in which you can send dual channel audio to a phone is wirelessly, actually. People think that the headphone jack on the phone, you can plug a cable in and record multiple channels. It's a mono input.
Yeah.
So we actually had to make this wireless, and we created a proprietary Bluetooth codec from the ground up that will allow us to stream this crazy type of audio straight to a phone. And that wasn't necessarily an easy process. I mean, aside from developing it, there's a lot of leaps and legal hurdles that we had to jump through that we weren't necessarily expecting to get this launched. For instance, our iOS app works on an Apple products in conjunction with our hardware. Well, when Apple found out that we were using this crazy technology, and although it totally worked and everything was fine, they required us to get an Apple made for iPhone certification. They had to give us the sort of gold seal to make sure it worked, and we had to basically design with an Apple mind. I write a big 3D audio blog on our website, and I have a big feature review on how this happened and how it worked. But it essentially delayed our production about 7 months, and that was something that I realized was, you may be able to make it, you might be able to work, but there are other elements at play when you create, sort of a new technology that have to play nice with things that you might not be expecting.
Right. Now, do you foresee that you could have some challenges in the future as Apple and anybody who's making phones or anything for Android, as they change, as they update? Are you imagining that you're going to have to do a lot of iterations of this, or just a software update?
Yeah, I mean, since we've had them launched, we've gone through 3 major operating system updates on Android and iOS. And yes, every time it happens, it's a little bit changed, a little bit altered. And that's the beauty about apps; they can always be updated. So our mobile team has to constantly work to keep it updated to work with the phones. But that's what we signed up for. We wanted to make a mobile-based 3D audio microphone. We have to take the mobile-based punches that come along with it.
Is there I know I speak to a lot of small business owners who have ideas for something that's innovative, using technology, and keeping up with all those updates from the major players is hard. Do you find that a good part of your annual budget is probably going to go to just keeping up and making sure that your device still works for your current users?
Yeah, it's not as big of a commitment as you might sort of expect. More is just keeping it relevant and showing the world how people are using it. Making sure that we're tapped into our customers all around the world who are recording videos. And what this is it's a microphone, right? And it's a new kind of creative tool. What we need to make sure is for anyone who's bought a microphone in the last 10 years, why something like this would be important to them.
Yeah.
Why we could encourage someone to upgrade or change a little bit of the way they record. And if we give them enough evidence and show enough compelling storytelling, then they themselves might be inspired. You kind of asked about how small businesses benefit from something like this. This is a storytelling device, and that's what I'm always been focused on, and that's in my background. And pure audio, spatial audio the way we hear it is a compelling element in storytelling. So anything that you're advertising online, anything that you're making video in, why would you make it with one ear? Why wouldn't you make it with 2 ears?
Good point.
It's a way to purvey a message. Someone much smarter and crazier than me will use this in a way that I never even thought of. But
Absolutely.
That's what we succeed. It's
Absolutely. How are you marketing this right now, other than coming to events like we're at right now?
Yeah, events are pretty big for us. We say hearing is believing. Putting them on and recording is important. But we do a lot through our social channels. We have a big YouTube page, youtube.com/hookaudio, where we're constantly adding videos and sharing videos of people that have made over the world. A lot of marketing through just our social channels. Someone sees a video, can click through the site and understand how to purchase it. Very similar to kind of GoPro. GoPro sold a lot of units by you seeing footage that was captured with the GoPro, and then you want to do that. This is kind of the GoPro for sound.
Now, I pick it up. It's very light. It's delicate. What would you say about someone who's a little curious about the durability of this product?
It's certainly not delicate. It has to essentially pass all certified manufacturing drop tests and all those things. I mean, it's certainly plastic, but it's because it's meant to be portable.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
I've had this on. It's very comfortable, and the sound is amazing. That records is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that blog. Could you tell our audience, how could they find out more information and stay apprised of what you guys are doing? What's that blog?
Yeah, so the 3D audio space is kind of a new market, and we're sort of using the blog as to be sort of the thought leader and the tastemakers, educating people about this big emerging market. So we're talking about a spatial audio on all different kinds of platforms, but that's just hookaudio.com/blog. So that's the 3D audio blog.
Okay, and One last question I like to ask, especially at startup companies. If money was not an object, what would you do for your business right now?
I think I would leverage all the really, really creative people out there who have like big followings and big audiences and just give them a pair and get them to use it and use it in a crazy way to show their audiences how it's used.
Little influencer marketing, absolutely.
Yeah, fortunately, influencers charge a lot for a video, sort of thing. But if you had enough to show it to them, I know anyone that puts this on, they have to hear it and be inspired. It'd be the money to like split me into 15 people and do these booths everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? This was very informative. This is exactly why I'm here, exactly why I'm sharing this information with entrepreneurs from all levels of business. So it's really awesome to have you on, Anthony. Where else can people find it? Where can we buy it? Give us all the goods.
Yeah, so they're available for purchase right now. We sell them direct through our site, hookaudio.com. That's HOOKE audio.com. And they're available right now for $239.
And it's a great investment, especially if you, I talk to small business owners all the time. Their biggest concern is quality, right? And, we always say if it looks good and sounds good, you're good to go. It doesn't matter. I encourage them to use their phones.
Right.
This is a great piece of equipment. And I won't call it equipment. It's probably a little bit, I don't want it to sound scary. What should we call it? Device. It's a great headset device.
Yeah.
It's better than a headset. I even want to give it the...
Right. We say they're microphones with built-in headphones.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
That's what that is, because I don't want to dumb it down too much because it deserves better than that.
Oh, thank you.
But I do think that this is something that could change the game for small business owners who want to do a little bit more with video. They don't want to hire somebody and they want to do something, they want it to sound right. This is the way to do it. You get a nice smartphone and keep it moving with the Hook Audio.
Totally. Check out all our videos on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Our audio can be experienced on any pair of headphones. So when you pop in a pair of headphones and go on our YouTube, you'll hear the content that this crazy device makes. So we're at every social channel at Hook Audio.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for being on the Moment Master Show.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
So you've heard some really great interviews with some creators of content and maybe in one of a product. Now you're going to hear from a gentleman who works for Microsoft, and I stopped him because I wanted to get his opinion on the event and what's going on, but then I noticed that he had something called Cortana on his badge. And by the way, Cortana is Microsoft's artificial intelligence like Siri or Alexa. I had no idea that Microsoft had one because Microsoft is no longer on my radar. I use all 100% Apple products and technology. So I learned, number one, that I need to be aware of what else is going on outside of Apple. But number two, I also learned that Microsoft actually needs to do more to come back and to re-engage customers and let them know that they're still out there, because I had no idea. I have not seen, I see Alexa Echo advertisements all the time. Google Home has their stuff out there. Of course, everybody knows Apple's Siri, but I didn't know who Cortana was. So this interview was helpful for me, and hopefully it'll be helpful for you.
So now I'm out in the beautiful botanical gardens of Snug Harbor for the Future of Storytelling Festival, and I'm here with Ryan Moss, who's with Microsoft. I stopped him as he was walking away from one of the exhibits, saw the work from Microsoft, and I saw the word that was most important, brand, and then the second word that's important, strategy. Had to talk to you, Ryan. So thank you for being on the Moment Master Show.
Absolutely, thank you.
So tell me a little bit about, because you're with one of Cortana, and I have no idea what that is, and let's talk about what that is and what your role is in trying and working with them on brand strategy.
Sure. Yeah, Cortana is Microsoft's personal digital assistant for productivity. So if you think about Siri or Alexa, serve different purposes, Cortana sort of comes around and supports you in your world in terms of productivity as a personal digital assistant.
Now, is this something that's readily available now, or is this something that's still in development?
Yeah, you can access Cortana on Windows 10. In the operating system, we have some devices that are coming out. We have a speaker partnership with Harman Kardon, and then she's also available across Android and iOS through an app download on your phone.
That's cool. So one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you, because my focus for this program and in my business as a consultant is small businesses and working on branding. In your view, what do you think small businesses can do, understanding that a lot of them complain that they don't have enough money to do very much of anything, right? How do you think they could best leverage some of the technology we're seeing here. We're seeing VR, we're seeing augmented technology, and we're seeing what I'm calling 5 sensory experiences.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think the key is, and technology will continue to advance, and I think companies are making it more and more accessible for more people and for small businesses in particular. We have a number of technologies that we offer, for example, through our Cognitive Services API that leverage AI technology and some things that are part of this world, experiences that are part of this world. HoloLens is a developer's kit and SDK. But I think the one thing that I would say, the big takeaway is, regardless of what experience you're trying to create and the technology you're trying to use, you need to be story first. So you have to be story driven. You have to think about the experience as a whole. And if you try to make take it from a tech first approach, you will not have the same experience. And I think that for people who are struggling to put something together, start with the story. Make sure you have a good story, and it will be much more believable and a better experience for your customers.
I agree wholeheartedly, and that was an amazing answer to that question. Is there anything here that you've been super excited about that you saw or you plan to see? Let me tell you what I did last night.
Yeah, what did you do?
I did Flock 2.0. Have you done that one yet?
Cool. Yeah, I did do that.
And what was cool about it was, I mean, they were all in. The actors were all in on this thing.
And they had to be.
Yeah, they had to be.
For you to suspend disbelief. You have to. Yeah, no, that was pretty great. I like the opportunities that push people out of their comfort zone a little bit.
I mean, you're totally out of your comfort zone when you're doing VR. You are now, like, if you have a bag, like I'm walking around with a purse, I put my purse down, and then I'm like, wait a minute, my purse, I can't even see anything. I've got this visor headset thing on.
It's a lot of trust.
It's a lot of trust.
Indeed.
Yeah, so that's something I guess we're all going to have to get used to as this proliferates across all aspects of life.
Yep, absolutely. Yesterday, I attended a talk through the summit that was a producer at Disney, and one of the great things that he said, as somebody asked a question about the future of VR and sort of their skepticism about it being a good long-form content medium, and he said that people said the same thing about animation at Disney, that in early animation, they said no one will ever be able to sit through a 90-minute animated sequence. People said the same thing about 3D once we started seeing 3D animation happen, and people thought that it would be hard on the brain to sit for that long, and then we had Toy Story, right? And so, so I think that it's really easy to look at the technology now and think that there isn't necessarily that future, but it is the future, and we will adapt to the new medium. So get ready.
Yeah, and brands themselves are going to be looking at new ways of using this technology to tell their story. And that's what this whole event is about.
Yes, and it's so nascent. People should prepare. It's got time. They've got time, but they should prepare. They should pay attention.
Oh, I love that. Caution. All right. Is there anything you want to share? Where, like, social media? You want to send them somewhere to look more information about some Cortana?
I would say if you're interested in the future of AI at Microsoft, check out Microsoft.ai. And if you're interested in seeing what we're doing with HoloLens, you should visit Microsoft.com/HoloLens.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now I am standing outside of HoloJam in Wonderland, which I just experienced. It was amazing. I was in this Alice in Wonderland type story, and it was really immersive, which I'm sure, I keep hearing people don't like that term anymore. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I'm standing with Jocelyn, producer of the program, and Ken, what was his last name?
Perlin.
Ken Perlin. Ken, why don't we start with you? Tell me, describe for the audience who cannot experience, they're not here today, what you've done here with HoloJam.
We're putting people in the same physical room, just like live theater. It is live theater, actors and audience, but everyone is wearing a virtual reality headset, so they're all transported together into an alternate version of reality, but always co-located and physically present with each other.
Okay, and Jocelyn, who's the producer of HoloJam in Wonderland.
Ken is the executive producer.
And Ken is the no. Everybody gets equal footing on my show. Jocelyn, can you tell me some of the things that you've done to bring this to life?
Oh, well, I've mostly just helped to organize people, but
People need to be organized. That's
yes,
important.
it's the wonderful creative and technical staff that we have who have worked tirelessly to bring this amazing experience to life.
So earlier, I was able to chat a little bit with Jocelyn. I talked about, the business. What is the business future for this? Because I know this right now is you're developing a technology, but potentially this could become a business where you ended up you're offering this technology to other people to tell their stories.
This is early days for virtual reality, as everyone knows. In 1892, Edison and Lumiere brothers came up with the kinetoscope. Everyone stuck their head in a little thing and started cranking something, and it was mildly interesting. And then 3 years later, in 1895, the projector came out. Suddenly people could hang out with their friends, have a social experience. Movies took off and kind of took over the world. What we're doing here is, instead of I put on my headset, you put on your headset, and we vanish into our own worlds, we're giving people an experience of being together with each other. Because the greatest entertainment, of course, is the person you come with. And the opportunity for businesses is to recognize that entertainment and experience is inherently social, and it's about the people in your life. And that's the energy you have to flow with if you want your business in virtual reality to really take off in the long term.
That was a great answer. Tell me a little bit about Future Reality Lab. I'm a little murky on what that is and your involvement in that.
It's a research
at New York
lab.
University, right?
It's a research lab that I run at New York University in the Department of Computer Science at NYU, and our mandate is to ask the question, what will life be like in the future as technology keeps advancing, and to understand, working with artists and technologists and theater people and musicians and economists and chemists and anybody, how do we deal with these technologies even before they show up? How do we create prototypes of them in the lab that will eventually be like the iPhone in your pocket is now?
So what would you say is different about doing this? I mean, what did you do before you started working on a project like this? What were you guys doing? I'm really curious. Let's start with you, Jocelyn. What were you doing before?
Before I got into virtual reality and working with Ken, I have a background in wearable computing and devices, so it was kind of a natural movement for me to get into virtual reality because wearables are a big part of that.
She started the whole field of affective computing.
No.
Where the computer can measure your
Are you being modest?
No. Thank you, Ken. That was very nice.
And Ken, what were you doing before you got involved?
I was doing the same thing. It's just that I couldn't do it as well as I can now. The nice thing about this whole new revolution in virtual reality, as some of your listeners will know, goes back many decades. But the fact that it's now becoming accessible to consumers means that now it's really relevant to focus on it because it's going to have an impact on hundreds of millions of people.
Absolutely. I'm feeling like as I'm experiencing, I was in your experience and other attractions out here, I'm getting the sense that we could only be experiencing things virtually in like 20, 30 years. Hopefully I'm still alive to experience that. But it's possible that we won't have too many real-life physical experiences anymore. We'll just be in a virtual world. Do you think that that's something that could happen?
No, because we won't want it to happen. People like reality. They like touching each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we are losing a little bit of that these days.
I think as technology advances, it's going to give us more opportunities to get it back again.
How can our listeners find out more information about what you guys are doing? Are you on social? You want to share any of that information?
Our producer will answer that question.
They can write us at holojamwonderland@gmail.com.
Okay.
Or they can visit our website, which is frl.nyu.edu /Wonderland.
Okay, so piece of small business advice: get a domain name and point it to whatever that long thing is.
Thank you for helping us.
I want to thank you for being on the Moat Masters show. It's been a great day, and thank you so much for allowing me to experience what you guys have put together. It's awesome.
You're very welcome.
Now I'm standing out with Chris Lang, who is the production designer for HoloJam in Wonderland, and it's something that I experienced here. I spoke to some of the other creators, and I wanted to make sure we talked about from the design perspective. I want Chris to just go in and tell me, how is it that you created this world so that I could go put on this headset, and I could go be standing right next to Alice and feel like I was part of the story?
Well, our design was based around the idea of watercolor painting. and watercolor in 3D, and how we were going to execute a loose, kind of free watercolor sketchy style.
Wow. Okay.
In 3D. That was the design goal. And then to have a transition from a kind of the world we begin with in Alice's grim and dark, kind of moody, gray, rainy parlor, how we're going to transform into this amazing watercolor, beautiful colors, vibrant color world.
So is this like a new frontier for a creative like you, Pete?
It's a complete new frontier of translating, not only translating 2D to 3D ideas, but also how to put people in it immersively. Because when you're walking around in it, we see everything.
You absolutely, I can attest to that. You absolutely see every detail.
So we're zooming into, there's no tricks. Everything is laid before us, and everything has to be, designed to, for very close viewing and interactive experience.
One last question. Do you find that there was a learning curve in working with this type of technology with your background?
Absolutely. We had limitations because of the virtual reality gear, VR headsets that we used, that we had a limited polygon count, so we couldn't do any crazy like Game of Thrones style special effects. So we had to keep it simple, but also complete and visually great, with a kind of a lower power virtual reality system than we would like in the future.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a startup and you're trying to do something that's innovative, you work with what you have, being scrappy and all that
creative
good stuff.
Limitation.
Absolutely, but it challenges you.
Yeah.
It makes you smarter, actually.
I think so. I hope you enjoyed.
I did. I loved it. I thought it was great.
It's great.
I love the acting. I'm all
Excellent.
about the acting in these
That was
experiences.
the number one priority for us, was to get great actors, and we have a great director in David Gotchfeld, who's our director, and Ken is our visionary producer. So I had a great team under me, and many people from different diverse backgrounds helping me out. So it was a team effort.
And thank you so much for telling your story. I think it's important that we got that part of it. I really haven't spoken to actually anybody who's been on the creative side of these things.
Well,
so I've always spoken to like a bunch of techie geeks. So thank you for being a creative dude.
Thank you.
Bye bye. I am standing here with Tessa, who's the creative producer of In My Shoes Intimacy, which is a piece that she's going to describe. And the word intimacy, automatically I'm thinking something. So she's got to get me thinking, tell me exactly what's going on with this. I'm waiting to actually do the experience myself. But I wanted to make sure we got Tessa to talk a little bit about, as the creative producer, why you chose this topic. Why are we doing a VR experience related to intimacy?
Okay, hello, I'm Tessa. And yeah, I work with artist and writer and director Jane Portland, and this is her newest piece, In My Shoes Intimacy, where it's a VR 360 video for two people to experience three situations from the perspective of two different people. So it's exploring the different iterations of what human intimacy is and what that means in different parts of a relationship, between strangers, between lovers, and between old friends. So Jane's work is about exploring different perspectives from your own and literally putting you inside the body of somebody else to hear their thoughts and feelings and perspective on a situation. So that's what happens inside this piece.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So tell me, as a creative producer, what were you responsible for in putting this VR project together?
So Jane is an artist and writer. She interviewed a series of different people for this piece. So it's a documentary because it's based on real interviews. And she had the ideas of how she wanted the interaction to happen, how she wanted the app. It's a piece for two people, so we had to work out how to get two VR pieces to sync together.
Yes.
And how we were going to have the interaction work. And those were all my jobs, to work out what's possible with the technology and communicate that to our coders and developers and camera people.
Now, how skilled are you in dealing with technology? You told me before we talked, that we started the interview, you said that you're a creative person. You are an artist.
Yes.
So was this a challenge for you to kind of take what you know about art and apply it to this technology, to VR technology?
So I've been working in VR for the last year. And I came to VR through an interest in documentary and an interest in performance art and installation art. And I discovered this amazing world where you basically make an installation about a non-fiction experience, and that's kind of what VR is. And so lots of my skills were applicable in that way. And both mine and Jane's experience of the VR industry is that there's a lot of people who know a lot about the tech and are really interested in the tech, and there's loads of advances in the tech, but people are forgetting, and I think that's the point of this festival. People forget the storytelling and how important that is.
The storytelling and the creation of the content.
Exactly.
Because this is all still content. It's just very experiential and getting you really in that place of being part of the story.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself taking your career now that you've gotten to this for a year? Where do you see this? Maybe you could make some sort of business out of being a creative producer and for hire, or doing your own projects. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is such a new field, so there's tons of things to explore, different kinds of technology, not just VR, but AR, MR, the new frontiers, mixed reality.
And what's the mix? What's mixed? I feel like all of this is mixed. What the heck is MR then?
So exactly, well, it's anything that you can imagine, basically, and that's our job, is to do the imagining so that people can really show off what the tech can do, and for that you need a good storytellers, which I guess is what this whole festival is about.
Did you, before you were involved with this, how were you telling stories? Was it through, when you said, because you said you were an artist, what kind of artist is your background?
Installation art, and particularly installation art that involved touch and sensation. So I made a lot of touchable video projection mapped objects, things like that, but very, very hands-on. And I think that's the best way to approach sometimes a new technology, is to come from a totally different background and know what feelings you want to invoke, and see how the tech can work for you, rather than the other way around.
I think that's a great point to make, and I love how you've taken your background and you've applied it to something that was new to you, that's still growing, as people get kind of in a little square box.
Exactly.
You are not in that box.
No. Me and Jane have never applied ourselves to any box, and so therefore we've really shaken things up. And that's partly why this piece is done so well, is because to try and get people to touch each other and to sit close to each other and get to know each other inside VR is something that nobody's managed to do yet.
It's an amazing way to tell stories. I want to thank you, Tessa, so much for being on the Moment Master Show and sharing this information, and I am so looking forward to actually experiencing, in my shoes, intimacy.
Getting intimate.
Now, is there any place that we should send the anybody listening, YouTube, Instagram, any of your social sites?
Yeah, so the In My Shoes project has a Vimeo, and we also have janegauntlet.com, which is Jane's website, where you can see all of her other projects and see her speaking as well. She's a speaker, and she advises businesses on how they can use intimacy and empathy inside their
Yeah, and
product.
I love that. I would look forward to chatting with her hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tessa.
Thank you.
So now I am in John Lennon and Yoko Ono's hotel room, Suite 1742.
That's it, yeah.
Where there is a fabulous experience where we are from the position of Yoko and John as they were being interrogated by the press with their bed in for peace. And I'm here with John Hamilton. He is the CEO of Unlimited, and he is the producer of this program. So tell me, how did you get involved with this? This is bigger than just you've put together this VR thing with John Lennon and Yoko. So tell me more.
We were actually approached by Massive Art, which is an art facilitator agency in Montreal. And they had been commissioned by Fairmont Hotels and Ivanhoe Cambridge, who is the property owner of the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal, to actually create this VR experience for the actual Suite 1742 in the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal, which was where John and Yoko actually held the bed in for peace in 1969.
That is really cool. So are they going to be using this somewhere in the hotel?
Yes, it's actually in the suite.
It's in the suite?
Yeah, it's in the suite itself, and there are two VR headsets.
That's cool.
Yep, on each of the bedside tables. And so guests who are staying in the suite can actually view the VR experience anytime they like.
That's wonderful. And what a creative way to commemorate that, what happened back then, is to put guests still going there today into that same experience. I love that. What do you love about this particular project?
I think for me, well, first of all, it was amazing to actually go to the suite itself and actually shoot the project there. It was kind of an honor to do that. And, it's not often you get a chance to work with subject matter that, involves John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So that was hugely, great for us. I think the other thing too is that because we actually officially released it on International Day of Peace on September 21st at the hotel, I think it was important as well that their message is not forgotten. And amazingly, how almost 50 years later that message is still as relevant as it was back in 1969.
It's extremely relevant.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. What do you see your company doing with VR? Any more projects like this? This seems like it's the start of something really good. This project.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope to do a lot more projects like this. Projects that are sort of part documentary, part historical recreation. We're really excited, obviously, about virtual reality, the potential of virtual reality storytelling, the potential of augmented reality storytelling and interactive storytelling. We've been working on all sorts of different things, from educational to medical projects on autism. We're working on a big sci-fi project called Trinity, which we're hoping to release early in the new year. An interactive sci-fi project in virtual reality. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things that we're working on that we're really excited about. There's lots of different potential uses in for virtual reality and augmented reality in storytelling. And
you're a long time storytelling in the world of film, in the world of production.
Yes.
Tell a little bit about your journey from, it's quickly, the short, version, Reader's Digest version, how you got from doing that traditional stuff into moving into this VR experience.
Well, I've been working in traditional filmmaking as either a writer, director, producer, and distributor for a long time, almost 20 years. And to be honest, I had a lot of success in the film business and was very happy with it. But I was looking for a new creative challenge. And luckily, I saw my first virtual reality experience at a game company in 2014. And I decided literally to drop everything I was doing and to focus completely on this new platform, which is really super exciting. So
discovering new ways to do what we do is important, and taking risks with it. I mean, because people were like, "Wow, you're going to start doing that," and because you just said you had success doing what you were doing.
Yeah.
But it was time for more challenges. So that's really great. That's a great story to tell. I'm glad you shared that. Is there any way for people listening to find out more information about this project or any of your other projects that you want to share?
They can certainly go to our website at www.gounlimited.co. There's information about this project on our website. They can also Google Suite 1742, a virtual reality experience, and all sorts of information will come up on the project and where it's going to be available.
That's great. Is there any, is the company on social at all? Follow on Twitter or anything like that?
Twitter, Facebook,
and just go to, what do we use? What's the handle?
What's our Twitter?
UNLTD, at UNLTD?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll make sure that's in the show notes, whatever it is, even if we didn't hear it on the show here, it'll be in the show notes because I'm going to reference everything that people talked about. Okay?
I need to learn all that stuff and keep my...
It's part of, engaging your audience.
Yeah.
Okay, John, I want to thank you so much for being on the Moment Master Show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having us.
While I was attending the Future of Storytelling Festival, I was able to sit in on a panel discussion on experiential branding, and it featured some really innovative branding experts, which of course I am all over that. I love that. And there was one anecdote I wanted to make sure that I shared with you in this episode, and it is about the fact that yes, we can shop online, but we are not getting an authentic experience from that. And the future of selling is going to be wrapped around providing an actual authentic experience. And I wanted you to hear what one of the panelists said. His name is Andrew Peters. He's creative director at the firm The Brand Experience. So here's Andrew's take on the future of what's going to happen to storefronts like malls and strip malls and all those types of things. What's going to happen to all these buildings that have been built to sell, and how they might be used in the future to offer an authentic experience.
And what are they going to do with all the malls in all the suburbs all across America? So this is not the only thing, this is not a panacea, but the things that you have to physically go someplace to have the experience, I think what we're going to see is like Chuck E. Cheese 2.0 for adults. There was a guy who was here this week at FoST named Brent Bushnell, and Brent's dad started Chuck E. Cheese, and he and I were talking about it offline, and I think we're going to basically see the rise of Chuck E. Cheese 2.0, but for us. And so you have to physically go somewhere and have this terrific experience. and you get to tell your friends about it, and you want to go with your friends. And we're already seeing this massively. We were talking about escape rooms, axe throwing things. I mean, there are so many examples already that are popping up in different cities. I see that continuing to rise.
And this last clip is the one I teased earlier in the show. It is of Elvis Mitchell, film critic, interviewing Academy Award-winning producer, writer, director, editor Steven Soderbergh. And the clip that I'm sharing with you in this episode is of Soderbergh speaking about his experience creating Mosaic, but with an entirely new team of professionals, and those are tech professionals. And it's about him being out of his comfort zone a bit. And as small business owners, as entrepreneurs, we all should be willing to go out of our comfort zone to do something great and to innovate. And I thought this was a very, very important piece. And I want to make sure that you know that as part of my patrons program, there will be more content from the FoST Festival available for a small donation to support the Moment Master Show. So if you go to my patrons page, you can go to Moment Master Show and you will see that. You'll be able to click that in the upper right corner and be able to access more content from this wonderful experience that I had at the Future of Storytelling Festival. So without further ado, here is Steven Soderbergh on his experience working with an entirely new team of technology professionals.
There were things that we had to develop technically just to be able to make the show. We had a sort of a node editor that enabled you to sort of build a map as you were going along. Also, our script supervisor, Tom Johnston, you can imagine for the script supervisor how crazy this was, because you get all these different nodes, and then sometimes, like I said, you'd have one scene that would be shot 3 times. And so Tom had to develop a software program to just track everything that we were doing, and he and I were in constant conversation, because he would say, okay, that shot is going in whose version of that scene? We'd have to make sure that it all got organized editorially. So there was supporting technology we had to develop just to keep the thing coherent for us while we were making it. But I have to say, it was really fun. I mean, even when it was a little, it could get a little. We had days where we had to shoot 14 pages of material, and I'm used to figuring out a scene once and then shooting that, and to do that and then realize I now have to figure it out 2 more times was sometimes, and it's 10:30 in the morning, and you realize after I do this scene 2 more times, I have another 2 scenes after lunch that I have to shoot 3 times. You really have to stay present, like it was a real kind of Jedi mind trick to just sort of be in what I call like just what's the next shot, like stay present and just go what's the next shot.
Weren't those interviews so exciting to hear the creators of all of this new content that's being developed to provide an experience around a brand or an experience to bring you inside of a story is so fascinating. And some key takeaways that I hope that you walk away with after listening to this episode is that storytelling is at the forefront of selling, okay? And I think this has been said over and over again, but being in an environment where having an experience was so important, it really shows that being able to tell your story and to have a brand message that is compelling and that goes beyond making sure that your product works well is that people believe in your story of your brand. And if you are not thinking about these things now as a small business owner, you should be. Do I expect you to go out and create virtual reality or AI or whatever content? No, I don't. But I want you to think about if you're going to be ready for it when it happens, okay? So that's an important aspect of all of this, is that you really figure out if you are ready, and will you be ready when it's time for you to tackle virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, or artificial intelligence in your own business. And if you're not, then you should take the time to develop a brand for your business and to create messages that are compelling enough that stories can be wrapped around it, and that people can experience your brand rather than you providing them with a bunch of things in the form of advertising or tchotchkes. Experience is where we need to be thinking. How can you provide an experience that underscores what your brand is all about? And with that, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If you are running a business and you have yet to sit down and really figure out how to solve your existential business crisis, that's what I call it, who you are, who you want to be, and how you want to be perceived, then if you haven't done this yet, you are way behind. And if you have any questions about this, I invite you to send me an email, podcast@momentmasters.com. That's how to reach me, through that email address. And we can talk about your business. We can talk about how you might want to move everything forward as it relates to your brand's message. And in the show notes of this episode, you will see a link to my calendar. And I'm inviting you as a listener to take advantage of a 30-minute consultation with me to talk about your ideas for your company and how we might be able to work together, and I can help you really figure out your brand message. If you enjoyed listening to this program, please go to iTunes, rate the show, and write your heartfelt review. You may not know this, but by writing reviews, it makes it a lot easier for other people to find this show. In addition, if you go to momentmasters.com, click on the Become a Patron button at the very top of the page, and you will be shown some information about how, if you become a supporter of this show, you'll get some special stuff that's not going to be privy to anyone else, including some special sessions with me, one-on-one, so that you can define your own brand or talk about some of your business strategies with me. So again, go over to momentmasters.com and go to the top and click the button, it's green, that says Become a Patron. If you have ideas and advice on how to be a Moment Master, I'd love to have you on the Moment Master Show. Just send me an email to podcast@momentmasters.com. Again, email me at podcast@momentmasters.com. Share your topic, share your bio, a link to your website, and we'll go from there. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for listening today. Be sure to subscribe to the Moment Master Show. By subscribing and writing a review on iTunes, you will make it easier for other people to find this show. So, if you haven't subscribed, hey, why not do it now? Just go to momentmasters.com, where you can choose to subscribe via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean. You can subscribe on Player FM, but if you can do iTunes, I really would appreciate it. Again, write a review, because it does make this show more available to more people. This is the end of this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is Shakira Brown, your host, also known as the Small Biz Whisperer. And wherever you may be and wherever time it is right now, I do hope you learned a little something to truly become a Moment Master. Take care.